A new Fox News poll out with less than 2 weeks to go until Election Day. The poll shows this. Voters trust, it shows who voters trust to do a better job on foreign policy, immigration, terrorism, and the economy. Trump is leading only in the economy column by 4%. Joining us right now is National Review editor Rich Lowry and the Washington Times columnist Charles Hurt. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Charles, let me kick it up with you. What do you make of these numbers?
Moving, last week Donald Trump was down by 6 in this poll. This latest one shows him down by 3. It shows some considerable movement there in a positive direction for Donald Trump. But if you look at all the polls, it's pretty scattered, and I think that it's probably you have a lot of people declaring the race right now for Hillary Clinton, saying it's all over. I think it's far too early at this point. I think that the electorate is hard to read right now, and I think that it's not over, and there's a real chance that Donald Trump could still pull it out.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, this is the best polling news for Donald Trump in a very long time. The first time a serious media organization has a poll that shows it this close. And there is tightening across the board. Even other polls, there's an ABC tracking poll that's been kind of off the charts for Hillary, showing a 12-point lead. Even that is tightening up. So clearly some tightening is going on. But 12 days from an election, you much prefer to be 3 points up rather than 3 points down. And on the economy, if there's one issue you're going to be ahead on, that's the one you want, because that's the issue that people care most about. But in general, issues aren't the decisive factor here, I think. It's temperament and character. Still, in this Fox poll, even though it's pretty close, on all those metrics, Trump is very far behind Hillary Clinton. And it's just very hard to be elected president when more than 50% of people think you're not prepared or ready or qualified to be president. You
think that's more important than economy, even though the economy seems to be the #1 issue for voters?
I do. I think if Trump, that's the nut he's always had to crack in the general election, is temperament and character. And I think this is a little bit of a joke, but when he won the nomination in May, if he had just gone away and not said anything, he'd be winning this race right now.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, it's funny you bring up temperament and character, because she's had a tough problem with that, especially with the recent dumps on the Podesta emails about her character, especially when it comes to Morocco. How about the Saudis, Qatar? I mean, these are not friends of ours. They're human rights violators, so that goes to her character. And then also think about when she testified on Benghazi and going, what difference does it make? So we've seen this come out from her, and the economy is a big sticking point. You can see it's resonating through the polls. So do you think that could hurt her?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, absent Donald Trump, she's the most unpopular person ever to run for president. And really the difference in this Fox poll and all the polls is he's just slightly more unpopular. Now, the latest WikiLeaks stuff on the foundation, I think, is the first time it really could punch through in a big way. Because a lot of these emails, they've been embarrassing for the underlings, but they're all people no one's heard of.
Right.
This really goes to how corrupt the whole foundation setup was. And it's on the front page of almost every major newspaper today.
Even I held this up. It's on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and the New York Times. It's above the fold. It's the latest
Yeah, and that's
story.
the spot right there that's been voted in the New York Times for 2 months to nothing except for anti-Trump stories.
And it was found that 2 Chief Clinton Foundation fundraisers pressed donors to steer business opportunities to former President Bill Clinton. There was a 2011 November memo outlining how work sometimes translated to large speaking fees for Bill Clinton, other paid work for Mr. Clinton. Charlie, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I've never seen a smoking gun that is smoking this much, out of that particular email, where Chelsea Clinton had Doug Band write up exactly what, basically defending his purpose at the foundation, his purpose at and Teneo's ties to it, and all the involvement with former President Bill Clinton. I mean, it is extraordinary how, in black and white, how he laid it out exactly, the entire corrupt situation. And then, also, when we go through these emails, usually it's prosecutors who have to come up with words like pay to play and favors and stuff like that. But these are actually the words that are in the emails that they wrote. And I do think that it is absolutely devastating. Somebody very early on pointed out that that this, if the race winds up being about Hillary Clinton, then Donald Trump wins, and if it winds up being about Donald Trump, then Hillary Clinton wins. And we have seen for months now, or for a month or so, that the race has been about Donald Trump, and that has helped Hillary Clinton a lot. And when these these stories like this make it about Hillary Clinton, and that favors Donald Trump, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the email stuff just isn't as sexy as the tapes of sensational with Trump, and now it's so close to the election. I mean, how much of a difference do you really think it's going to make, no matter what?
Well, it has made a difference because it seems like at least the tape and that issue for Donald Trump has faded somewhat based on these polls, at least based on this Fox News poll.
People have already voted.
You see a narrowing. Listen, she's got 83% of the Democratic vote. He's got 81, and it's something that I've highlighted when it was in the 70s. He needed to get it up.
81% of the Republicans.
Trump has 81% of the Republican vote in this new Fox News poll, and that's only 2 percentage points below where Hillary Clinton is with Democrats.
Okay.
So to his credit, he's picked up some Republican votes there. He needs to get more. He needs to get those 5 million white voters out there who didn't come out for Mitt Romney.
After the month he's had, to be still standing is amazing, but to be competitive still is absolutely extraordinary.
Shows you how disliked she is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Charles, what do you watch next now in these next 12 days? What's most important?
Honestly, I hate to say this, but I mean, does Donald Trump stay on message? Does he stay, focus on the campaign, focus on prosecuting?
Can he not get in his own way?
Exactly.
Say something else insane.
And 12 days would about be the record for him. We've seen him do it for maybe 6 days, 7 days. And so if he could just do this for 12 days, I really do think that he's got a shot at it. And when you pick up the newspapers, and you see all these stories about how, the race is over. I saw a story in the Washington Post the other day where chiding him for even campaigning in Virginia. When people read stories like that and they hear things like that, they think, wow, maybe it really is rigged. And that plays into his favor. The thing that goes against him right now is the fact that the early voting, obviously a lot of that early voting was going on at a time when he was not just down by 3 points. And he has to overcome that, and that's going to be a problem for him. But I still think that it is a doable task for him.
Someone who's close to him should change the password on his Twitter account somehow and not let him in.
By the way, when people say Trump should stop campaigning in Virginia, all those folks from Southside, Virginia, where Charlie and I are from, are giving them a one-finger salute. Right?
Indeed. Indeed.
Rich, final word. What are you looking at next 12 days?
Well, I mean, all that's correct. He should just have Kellyanne Conway write a speech and just give it every single day, three times a day.
That's all you watch.
That's not that hard to do. And then maybe he can close strong. He's still an underdog. It's a long shot. But Charlie's right. It's not over.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it there. Rich Lowry, Charles Hurt, thank you so much, gentlemen. Good to see you both.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren back on the campaign trail together this week. The progressive team teaming up to attack Trump.
He thinks that because he has money, that he can call women fat pigs and bimbos. Women have had it with guys like you. Nasty women are tough. Nasty women are smart. And nasty women vote.
There you go. Former Boston Red Sox pitcher, future Hall of Famer, and Donald Trump supporter Curt Schilling may in fact be running against Elizabeth Warren in a couple of years. He's also the host of Whatever It Takes on Breitbart.com. He got the job this week. Congratulations on the job, Curt. And I know you're already knee-deep in politics anyway. Seeing Elizabeth Warren on the stump, does that intimidate you?
Like goosebumpy feel every time I hear Hillary's shrill voice rising and even higher and higher.
She's on the stump. She is clearly seems to be more progressive than Hillary Clinton, and she's on the stump now. She's in Massachusetts. She is also clearly more popular than Hillary Clinton. What concerns you most about that duo?
Nothing, other than neither one of them should be in our political landscape after this next election and after 2018. They're at the core of everything that's wrong with this government. They're both incredibly supportive tax and spend liberals. We're $20 trillion in debt. Tax and spend doesn't work. It's been proven not to work. And we watch time and listen. I look at Obamacare as the perfect example. You compare Obamacare as a government entity to Samsung, a company that is having a massive issue with product. The capitalistic business world tends to make the weak go away. In the political arena, there is no accountability. So Obamacare screwing up and being the nightmare everybody thought it was going to be it only means that they need to pour more money into it, when we all realize that that's not the solution. The solution is to transition away from something that is clearly broken and acting exactly the way that people thought it was going to.
So, and now we're seeing it now, and a lot of Senate races are going to be in play, and maybe even Donald Trump himself more than ever because of the collapse of Obamacare. So you might actually take her on. You think you're going to do it. You mentioned to me in the break that Senator Scott Brown's helping you out with that.
It's a quarter before the top of the hour, and the race for the White House is a knockdown, drag-out fight to the finish with candidates going toe-to-toe on the trail until 12 days from today. And we're keeping score each week here in the title boxing ring with former prize fighter, seen right there, political analyst Ed Rollins, who runs the pro-Trump super PAC Great America. Ed, good to have you today.
Thank you. You had those two imposters in here, Trippy and Karl Rove.
Out in Vegas, baby.
Never been near a ring in their life. You put them in the sacred MGM ring last week.
I know.
I don't think anyone's ever thrown a punch.
You're probably right. A literal punch. Plenty of figurative. Donald Trump this week is having a better week than he did last week.
Yes, absolutely. He is. He's more on message. He's got two big issues. We're going to talk about them. One being the Obamacare, the rise in fares, and obviously this Clinton cash thing. I mean, if he stays on that message, he can do much better. It's closing.
Despite what the mainstream media are saying, he could still win.
He could still win, absolutely.
All right. You mentioned Obamacare. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton on the Affordable Care Act.
Wants to double down on Obamacare and make it even worse. She wants to put the government totally in charge of your health care. Repealing Obamacare and stopping Hillary's health care takeover is one of the single most important reasons that we must win on November 8th.
Things are going to change no matter what. The real question is, what kind of change are we going to have? I don't think most Americans want the dark and divisive change that Donald is offering, going back to the days when insurance companies could discriminate against everybody, not just people on the Affordable Care Act.
All right, Rocky, round one goes to?
This one goes to Trump. Obviously, Obamacare, the rates going up dramatically right before the election. She being one of the original architects of Obamacare, she wants like a Medicare for all. I think he clearly wins this one. Needs to keep hammering on this one.
All right, round one goes to Donald Trump. Meanwhile, round two, Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump on the fight in Mosul with ISIS.
She's going to fight ISIS. Well, she's been there for a long time. Take a look at Mosul. They announced 4 months ago, 3 months ago, we're going into Mosul. We're going to get the leaders of ISIS. Guess what? 12 minutes later, the leaders, they left.
I was so appalled when Donald Trump tweeted that the new effort underway to push the terrorists out of the key city of Mosul is already, and I quote him, a total disaster. Really? He's declaring defeat before the battle has even started?
All right, round two goes to?
I'd call this one a draw. I think that she makes good points in the sense of, he's calling it a disaster, and it is our American troops there helping out our allies, which isn't a good place to be. He's right in the sense that this is the third time we've had this battle in the last 10 years. We won a very costly battle. We gave it back to them. So my sense, we'll call this one a draw.
All right, third round. Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. The system is rigged.
He refused to say that he would respect the outcome of this election. I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. This is the same guy who said he thought the Emmys were rigged against him. In America, we don't say we're going to keep you in suspense. We have free and fair elections and the peaceful transfer of power.
Our opponent represents the rigged system and the failed thinking of yesterday. Hillary Clinton's campaign offers only the depressing pessimism that says this is as good as it gets and it's never going to get better.
Ed, round three?
I would give this round to her. He had a very strong debate by saying that I won't basically automatically accept her as the winner. I think diminished his debate performance a little bit. Talking about rigging the system is starting to follow through, people started paying attention to it. But I think at the end of the day, I'd give this hers, and that makes it basically a tied round.
Just like our brand new Fox News poll.
Yeah, there's one thing that I think would be very important. We should use this ring next week. You know, Joe Biden is now called out for
behind the barn, behind the gym.
And I think that would be a great fight. We could basically be sort of the battle of the mouths.
All right, Mr. Vice President, you're invited.
Hamilton Burr without the guns.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Ed, thank you. See you next week.
Joining me right now is telecom union worker David Kemper. David, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good, good. How are you doing?
So you were a Democrat, but you say you will be voting for Trump now.
Correct.
Why?
Actually, the last couple elections, I have been leaning more towards the conservative ticket for just the way with dealing with some of my union issues. I believe he is talking about the economy, job growth, safety for my family, talking about the national debt.
You know, it's interesting because when you look at polls, actually, people trust Trump more than they trust Hillary when it comes to the economy. We're looking at this new Fox News poll, and he gets 50% on the economy. She gets 46%. He's talking about rolling back regulations, talking about cutting taxes. You're a believer. You do believe that will move the needle on economic growth.
Yes, I do. Originally back in, 2002, when there was Ross Perot against Bush and Clinton, I did vote for Perot. He was a businessman, and I thought he was going to clean up Washington. Now, 20 years later, we have Trump, and I'm looking for an outsider, someone who's going to clean up Washington, provide us with decent health care, good jobs, and want to address this national debt that keeps ballooning.
Do you think more of your colleagues in unions are doing the same thing? What's your sense from the unions in general? Because we all know that, you know, broadly speaking, it feels like the unions are in Hillary's camp, but maybe not.
You know, from what I hear from a lot of my union friends, that a lot of them are split. You have the strong Hillary supporters, the strong Trump supporters, and you still have a lot of undecideds. You have some that just say, I cannot vote for Hillary and I cannot vote for Trump. But the Trump factor is that he's talking about jobs, he's talking about the economy, he's talking about health care. I know with us personally, my family is health care is one of our biggest issues, where we have to actually get a second job in order to pay for some of the health care costs because we're on the high deductible plan.
All right, Election Day 12 days away, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are working hard to shore up the African-American vote. It could make the difference in a series of states. Donald Trump making this promise yesterday.
Every African-American citizen in this country is entitled to a government that puts their jobs, wages, and security first. I'm asking today for the honor of your vote and the privilege to represent you as your president. And I will not let you down. You watch. Here is the promise I make to you. Whether you vote for me or not, I will be your greatest champion.
Wow, but some say Hillary is doing more. In fact, some say that she's going over the top and doing this thing called pandering to the African-American community with ads like this.
Let's go Hillary. That's my opinion. I will be voting for Hillary.
I don't want someone running the country as a business. I'm a human being.
If we want a hotel, we'll call Donald Trump.
Wow. So here for a balanced debate, the vice chair of the National Diversity Coalition for Trump, Brunel Donald Shea, and Democratic strategist and Fox News contributor. We always love to see Richard Fowler. Welcome to both of you. Brian. And I guess, Brunel, let me start with you. Is the barbershop ad pandering? Is that, or is that just going to something that's relatable?
Good morning, and God bless you, and God bless America. What I would say is that it really is pandering. The situation is this. If you had a record of helping minorities, if you had a record of helping black people, she wouldn't have to be talking about your mama jokes or hot sauce or in barbershops begging. People would be lined up voting for her. Black people would be lined up voting for her because she has helped the inner cities, that she sent jobs, that she sent improvement in communities, that she invested in black businesses, that she kept our young people out of the morgues and out of the prisons. But Hillary Clinton, in her 30 years of being in office, has done absolutely nothing for the black community. And so for her to be begging and pandering, that's absolutely disgusting. We don't want your begging. We want your work. We want to see the work ethic that you put in to help black people.
All right, Richard, I imagine you feel differently.
I do feel differently. First, a factual correction. Hillary Clinton was never in office for 30 years. Yes, she's been in public service, but not in office. She's only been in office since 2000. But even more importantly, I think this hot sauce thing that keeps going around, I want to just debunk that for the American people. She actually does like hot sauce. I mean, it's okay for a white person to like hot sauce, but she really does carry hot sauce in her bag. Yes, it's a Beyonce lyric, but she actually likes hot sauce. And number three, and most important,
is she telling white people that she likes hot sauce? Really?
She likes hot sauce. It's just a fact.
Really?
I'm being very serious. She likes hot sauce.
I love ketchup. Didn't bring it today.
But I mean, hey, but that's beyond the point, Brian. Here's the thing. I think what the Hillary Clinton campaign is saying to African-American voters is we're going to make this country great is by working together and coming together. We've seen the opposite from the Trump campaign. We've seen this divide and conquer strategy. And to be honest, that doesn't really work for the African-American community.
I do know that she met with Richard, I do know she met with Black Lives Matter last week. Is that the right message, Brunel?
What I would say is that the right message is the work. All we wanted her to do under these last 8 years under the president is show us that she was willing to be the champion of black people. She knew 8 years ago that she was going to run for president, that she was going to come for our vote. And so what I'm saying is, look, what you do is you come with your record. I gave money to the African-American community. I invested in businesses. I kept the black youth out of the bodies. I made sure that they were kept out of the penitentiary.
Here's what we've seen.
That's
here's what we've seen. Here's what we've seen from Hillary Clinton. Not only has she stood up for black women and girls all across this country with her work in Africa as Secretary of State, but beyond that,
you mean the watered-down drugs in Africa that killed the babies? Are you kidding me? That killed the babies faster than HIV?
I don't really know what you speak of, but I know that under the Clinton administration, 11 million more global citizens have access to HIV/AIDS medication than have before.
We're talking about African Americans, Americans.
I'm talking about, you have to look at it holistically.
Richard, you had no problem with the hot sauce.
We're talking about African Americans in America that are starving right now in the inner cities. What are you talking about global? We need to take care of American
Richard, I have a quick
citizens.
question for you, just to sum it up. Between the barbershop ad, between the hot sauce claim, and between the email that one saying, should we go back and forth, should we use a yo mama joke on the stand, does it show somebody that's in touch with the black community?
No, it does not. What it shows.
Just real quick, let me just get Richard.
The question was for me. Number one, and most importantly, I think what we've seen from Hillary Clinton is a commitment to the African-American community, whether it be making sure that poor children have access to health care insurance or the S-chip law, or over and over again, we've seen her work with the African-American community, work with the Congressional Black Caucus to get things done for the African-American community and working families all across this country. She's a grade A candidate. On the other hand, Donald Trump is a grade F candidate when it comes to Latinos, when it comes to African-Americans. That's the facts, Brian.
And Brunel, final thought?
What I would say is this. Hillary Clinton is basically saying that she's going to help the black community, but has
she
not.
Already has,
the elites, the black elites that she's been filling their pockets out with. We're talking about the people on the ground who are on the street, everyday Americans. Those people have not. He's going to help them with jobs. He's going to put money in our communities. He's not walking around acting like our black vote is it is his birthright. He is asking for our vote like a human being, not like a robot, calling us underachievers and losers in WikiLeaks.
Brunel,
you better read WikiLeaks.
Right. Thanks so much, Richard and Brunel. It's a heated argument. For Donald Trump, he's about at 9%. Hillary Clinton's got the balance, and he's going to need better than that if he's going to take some of these key states. And he also brought down.
And he will.
We'll see. Guys, thanks so much for a great debate this morning.
Thanks, Brian.
Is Trump's warning of the rigged election really coming true? Some early voters down in the state of Texas claiming that their votes for Donald Trump were changed to Hillary Clinton. Election officials are now saying it was user error. They're blaming it on the people, on the voters. But could there really be trouble ahead in all of this? Joining us now is the founder of True the Vote, Catherine Engelbrecht. Thank you for joining us, Catherine. So this is a real thing. Voter fraud is really happening.
Yeah, it absolutely is happening. And I think the message to everybody that's going out to cast their votes is to make sure that, be they voting on paper ballot or by electronic machine, that in the end their vote represents who they want to vote for. And if that's not the case, that they report that immediately, because we've got to get the word out that there are problems.
Well, what do you make of the judge in Potter City saying it's your fault, it's the voters' fault?
Well, I mean, you know, there certainly could be user error. There's also a huge technology gap. I mean, we're talking about technology being used in many parts of the country that's circa 2003. Think about what we still have in our world that we would consider usable, technologically speaking, that's from 2003. It's just, we have problems and we need to fix them. And we can't forget that this is happening now because the solutions are going to take us well beyond Election Day to get put in place.
Well, some of these have gone to court. Some of these cases have gone to court. And if you look at the numbers, they're pretty staggering when you think about this. Fraud cases in the state of Texas since 2002, 89 are the number of cases that have been prosecuted in the state of Texas. 70 are the number of cases of election fraud resulting in convictions. So they can't say it's user error there. These are convictions.
Well, right. And for every conviction, you have, goodness knows, hundreds that go without conviction, because by the time you get through a multi-year process of litigation and the dollars that it takes to prosecute, you know, it's as if saying if you're speeding down the highway and you don't get a ticket, that you're not really speeding.
Right, right.
There's a lot of fraud happening.
And every vote counts, so that's why. And by the time it makes it through the court, the person's already elected or not elected. What do you do if you see voter fraud, Catherine?
Well, what True the Vote has done is put together a mobile app that you can download for Apple or Android that allows you to report your voting experience. We think that that's the most important thing you can do, is try to make sure that if you see something or that if you experience something, that you share that we have empirical evidence that will help usher in the much-needed reforms that we're going to face on the other side of this election.
All right, so in this case, if you see something, share something. What's the name of the app?
Absolutely. Vote Stand. Vote Stand.
Vote Stand. All right, Catherine, thank you for joining us. Hopefully these problems can be resolved. Thanks for what you're doing.